It's been a little bit. Hello everyone and welcome back, technically the Let's Play Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. In the last part, we finished off the Plague of Shadows campaign, and now it's time to start off our next Let's Play within this whole collection. Initially released in March of 2017 on the Switch, in April of 2017 on everything else, just about 3 years after the release of the initial Shovel of Hope campaign. It's time for our third playable character, Specter Knight, and his own eponymous campaign, Specter of Torment. Slice and dice through the tragic prequel. Well, let's get started with it and make our file name. As usual, you may have seen a moment ago, I did a practice playthrough before this. I did that actually on stream as a practice. Let's get right on in with Angsty Man and start the campaign off. Long ago, the lands were untamed and roamed by legendary adventurers. But although the land is peaceful, for some, freedom is a far gone memory. Specter Knight, servant to the Enchantress, has been given a harrowing task. He must recruit a group of knights and form an invincible order. With each member gathered, a treasured keepsake grows in power. An artifact that can restore his humanity, but only when his task is complete. Now he leaves the confines of the Tower of Fate. It's time for the Reaper to pursue his quarry. And thus it begins. So, I mentioned many times during the Plague Knight playthrough that a lot of the level design was relatively untouched, and it was largely just, here's a slightly different moveset, explore the old levels again, with some minor changes. Specter Knight and King Knight's campaign, the latter two released, have almost entirely original level design, because their movesets are radically different than Shovel Knight's. With that said, similarly to Shovel Knight, his main attack is a very close range one. It has a little more range than the Shovel, especially because, it's a giant scythe. But you still have to get pretty close. His big thing is he can effectively do the wall jump out of Mega Man X. You jump towards a wall, he climbs it a little bit before eventually jumping off automatically. But if you jump off of it yourself, you can jump off at a 45-degree angle and go from one wall to the next. That red skull there is our main collectible. They're effectively the cipher coins for this playthrough. There are 10 largely in every level until we reach the equivalent to the Tower of Fate stages, in which case there's a few less in those. But his main ability is dash slashing, where whenever you jump near something that is slashable, be it an enemy or often lanterns, a line will show up diagonally through them, either upwards or downwards, depending on which position you are relative to them. Pressing the attack button at that point will send you dashing through the opponent or object in question, doing damage as well. You can also do this to chain attacks from above, similarly to pogoing as Shovel Knight. With that said, there is a little more positioning involved in this, because if you do, say, hold the control pad a certain way, well, after doing so, you still could fall into a spike or a bottomless pit, so it's a little more dangerous than pogoing. Something to keep in mind, though, if you look at the top, we have darkness bars and will bars. Darkness bars is just going to be for our supplements when we eventually get them, of course. But our willpower is our health, and Specter Knight, by default, is the least hardy of all of the playable characters in Treasure Trove. He only has a total of 8 health, compared to, I think, even Shovel Knight's starting, like, 10 or 12. So you don't have a lot of leeway when it comes to making mistakes early on, and because of that, this can be a harder campaign at first. I do think it's ultimately one of the easiest, but I think that's just because I'm ultimately more used to its level of action, as in terms of complexity of action mixed with difficulty, if Shovel of Hope and Plague of Shadows are Mega Man Classic mixed with Castlevania, I'd say Specter of Torment is Mega Man Extreme 2's Zero campaign stuff mixed with Castlevania. Which means if you prefer Mega Man X on the whole, you're actually probably going to get a lot out of this particular campaign. which means I also get a lot of this campaign to get a little bit ahead of ourselves. While I ultimately love the entire collection a lot, I do think Specter of Torment's probably my favorite of the campaigns to play through the levels of, even though in some regards it's also probably the most limited campaign. But I'll talk about what I mean by that later. Something you should very quickly learn about this campaign, though, is that while you can climb most walls with the wall clinging ability and climbing, there are certain walls in each level you can't. Namely, they usually have something covering the bare wall. For instance, the platform I was on a moment ago, you might notice the right side of it has some greenery going down to the previous room. We cannot climb that particular wall. Every single level tile set has an equivalent to that, and it's usually pretty easy to figure out which one's which, because they do mark it pretty clearly, I think, but figuring that out and analyzing the level design quickly in order to figure out which walls you can climb is going to be key in a lot of cases, so be sure to be quick and observant on that. In fact, if anything, that's probably where some of the difficulty in the platforming this is going to come from pretty quickly. With that said, there are going to be some sections of level design that are pretty familiar here, and where they are, the secrets are in the exact same place. Part of the reason why this is actually my favorite of the campaigns is also because this is where they first really remixed the level design after Shovel of Hope. I'd say there's a lot of the same notes throughout, but they hit in very different ways, I guess is the way to put it. Like, there'll be set pieces like, okay, I recognize this, but it's done differently. Right here, we got ourselves a Willful Wisp. Prolongs your undeath by increasing max will. Each one of those we find increases our willpower by a full pip, so now we have 10 health as opposed to 8. While Shovel Knight and Plague Knight found curios in chests and levels, we're actually going to be finding more health and darkness upgrades in the levels itself. Our equivalent to sub-weapons are going to be gotten through a different method in this campaign, which we'll actually start seeing after this first level. Obviously, the first level isn't exactly a good judge of this, but I do think overall in this campaign that the red skulls are easier to find than Plague of Shadows' cipher coins. If only because I think they're more clearly signposted for where they are in the level design to begin with, on top of the fact they put a lot of them just in your way. And while they do that for the cipher coins as well, I think Specter Knight's movement set makes them easier to get than Plague Knights, because being able to climb walls allows you to do some ridiculous stuff, same with being able to home in on enemies at any point in time. With that said, our goal in the actual levels is pretty much the same as it was in the other two campaigns. We're here to clear the levels the best we can, while also getting as much money along the way, because you do use a lot of the money you get along the way for upgrades in the various shops in our home base and otherwise. Now, something that's always going to particularly stick out about this particular campaign to me is that this is the first campaign I actively played on its launch day. I did the same for King of Cards after this. Shovel of Hope and Plague of Shadows. I didn't play at launch for either of them because I didn't have the game when the original game launched for a little bit. And Plague of Shadows, I just didn't feel like going back to, and when I initially tried to play it, I kind of just bounced off of it at first anyway, as I brought up in that LP. With that said, similarly to the previous two playthroughs, the Planes of Passage aren't that much to write home about. They're largely tutorial level to get you used to the new mechanics of the particular character you're playing as, and they do a really good job of that on the whole, honestly.
Halt! These foul lands are no place for commoners. Turn back, whoever you are. Fool, I've come here for you. You will kneel before me, bow before the Enchantress, and join her order. Your cutting words are no match for my cutting blows. I'll teach you a lesson in humility. Come, Terrapin, my shelled steed!
Black Knight has some changes in Specter of Torment due to his Terrapin turtle now around, who he's going to be riding at the start of battle. You can dash slash into either of them, and if you go in from above, you're likely to damage Black Knight in the meanwhile. The only attack that Black Knight himself has while on Terrapin is that he'll fire his projectiles out, though he can also ride Terrapin around as it charges around from wall to wall. When you get him off of Terrapin by knocking into him enough times, though, he becomes the same fight from the other two campaigns. He can do the pogo jumps like Shovel Knight can, he can do the outright stabs with his shovel blade, and the projectiles all the same. With that said, he's still the tutorial boss, so not too bad even with your overall lower health.
That fighting style. Could it be? Donovan! But you were claimed by the tower! The tower grows in power each moment. The Enchantress has plans for you, and will grant you what you desire. I won't be led astray. You standing before me means there's hope for the one I seek. I'm glad you're safe, Donovan, but keep your distance. The Donovan I knew would surely know better than to pursue me further.
So, you've returned. I assume Black Knight has joined our ranks?
Neither words nor sight had any effect. The fool persists in some fruitless quest.
Indeed, it seems I am dealing only with fools here. Was I a fool to trust you? Tarry here no longer, and for your sake, pray that the others are less obstinate. Bring the knights immediately. Okay then, that's our rough plot synopsis. Welcome to Specter Knight's home base. We don't have a town or even a hidden base underground like with Shovel Knight or Plague Knight. We have the Tower of Fate itself as our base this time around. My beloved, my betrothed, my heart breaks for her red skull lies misplaced. Oh, to see her crimson face once more. If you should happen upon a red skull, even 100 of them, then I beg you, please, bring them all to me. In a past life, I hunted curios, but I'd trade them all away just to see my love again. Surely these would interest you. The red skulls are how we actually get our sub-weapons as Specter Knight this time around. We can't get them all with the ones we get from the first stage alone, but there's gonna be more unlocked as we go anyway. Ah, this curio is well guarded. Well, I can lead you there, you'll have to battle your way out. And unlike other campaigns, we actually get a little tutorial level for each sub-weapon in question. It would seem that a curse has been placed here. I'm afraid your scythe will be of no use. Why is that, you ask? Sorry, but that's an ancient skeleton secret. We'll regroup ahead. Tread carefully. In this case, we actually can't even use our scythe here. We can only use the Dread Talon, unleash a powerful close-range strike. There's a little bit of a delay between you using it and it going off, sort of like the whip in Castlevania, but it's a very strong weapon that the large hitbox stuff can easily pierce through guards, and you can even use it for platforming to extend your jumps. I like this sub-weapon a lot. Excellent, away we go! This is probably going to be the curio we see me use the most throughout the LP. That curio is no mere bauble. Use it wisely. And every time you buy from him, you have to watch him throw the skulls you just gave him into the closet behind him, and then you go again. My heart grows cold. I've located new curios, but have you found any real red skulls? This is the other curio I recommend you get at the very start of the game, because this one is essential, it feels like, for the campaign, especially given how fragile Specter Knight is at the start of the game. This is the Will Skull. Clutch this skill to regain will. It recovers your health. It costs a lot of darkness to do so, but it's very effective in the long run. I should note though, this game uses the same MP system of sorts as Plague of Shadows, so every single sub-weapon uses different amounts of it, and I do prefer having the bar for that than I do just the potion count, so to speak, for mana in Shovel of Hope.
These creatures are gathering around a vessel marked with a cloak. Perhaps I'll make an offering.
Gave 800 gold.
The vessel can hold far more than this pittance, but it's a start.
We'll be giving that a little more as we go through.
Oh, hey, Specty, welcome back. If you ever miss any wisp chests, I can summon their contents here. But, you know, supplies, I need gold. It isn't cheap to summon a wisp, whether it's for will or darkness. I've got nothing to sell you. You're so meticulous, Specty, but maybe I can still help. Let's see. Darkness wisps are in the Clockwork Tower, Explodatorium, or the Lich Yard. Any other new place and you'll find a willful wisp.
This quote-unquote shop allows you to buy any of the health or MP ups we find throughout the campaign if you miss them in the stage in question. I'm not going to be doing that, so I'm never going to need to buy from her, but keep her in mind all the same if you miss one in the stage.
State your business, abomination. Who are you?
We are many. We like your gold. We like your cloak. Touch it. New powers. Yes. We cloak you in darkness.
This is our armor shop for the campaign, but like in Shovel of Hope and Plague of Shadows, I'm largely going to be sticking with one particular armor for most of the campaign, but every single armor has its pros and cons and a place in a certain playstyle. The Striker's Shawl, once I get enough money for that, is going to be the one I stick with, though, because having a charge slash is just indispensable for me in all of these campaigns, effectively. Also, Manny, as well as their cousin over here, actively takes gold to unlock before you can actually spend money at them, which is a little weird, but at the same time, you're going to get more than enough money throughout the campaign anyway, so don't worry about whatever you spend, you'll make it back and actually be able to spend money on the proper stuff there, probably within a stage, in most cases, honestly.
Religion. Curios, gold, up. Powerful mark.
Legion, on the other hand, is how you upgrade the curios you get from Red. Each upgrade costs a flat 4,000 gold, but as you can see reading the upgrade text there, they are notable changes to how they work and are almost always worth it. Also, we want to hit these weird little purple things and knock it over here because there's a mimic cat over here where if you knock this toy over to them, they'll just throw out a shitload of money. I think you can only do this the once in every playthrough for this amount, but if you can do it more than once, hey, tell me. I just never do it because you get more than enough money anyway. I can't believe it! I get to serve the Enchantress! I'm getting fired up just thinking about it! Maybe I should come up with a new special move, something to stand out from all those boring gold armors in Pridemore. You might notice the lantern above the gold armor looks a little different if we slash it 3 times. They actively will have something happen to them, so let's give that a try. And now they're red. Whoa, this is awesome! I can perform lots of sword stabs in armor like this! I'm gonna put in for a transfer to the Lost City immediately! Neat. And also, there's this mirror here. If you continuously hit it until you see a sprite spawn in it, this is where you can see your totals.
Brian, Blight, and Fire Sprite, your feet are laid bare to my all-knowing sight. Peripetio Essentius, 50 is the number of walls you've scaled. Morbidium Retrona, the number of times you've fallen in battle is 0. Chronologico, the total time you spent adventuring is 15 minutes and 50 seconds. Incesium Antecedum, the number of dash slashes you've done is 56.
Clearly this is powerful sorcery. Thank you, Bewitched Mirror.
I'm not a mirror.
And that's everything up here on the top right of the map. Make sure you get that hidden red skull over here, by the way, if you're going for 100%. Let's talk to our skeleton buddy. Oh, it's you. I saw you slicing and dicing through the plains earlier. Wow, round of juice on me. Free money for that. You actually get an achievement if you talk to every unique entity throughout the Tower of Fate throughout the campaign. There's also this area up here which has our first grind rails in the game, but we're not really going to mess with here until later, though you can notably access this area as well from below if you slash at that gargoyle that's right next to where we spawn in the Tower of Fate every time. For now, let's head to the far east and access our stage select for this particular campaign, which is a little different than the way all the other campaigns do it.
Hail, Lord Specter Knight! Glory to the Enchantress! She has entrusted me to operate this dark portal. Cross through and you'll reach your target in a mere moment. Shall I prepare the magic mirror for your departure, my lord?
Sure. Whereas the other campaigns all have a Super Mario Bros. 3 inspired world map, Specter of Torment just has a straight up Mega Man level select. You can access any of the 8 Order of No Quarter members besides yourself, and anytime you want, in any order you want. With that said, I'm going to be playing this like I played the other campaign, so we're going to go through the knights in the same orders, so to speak, starting off with King Knight. King Knight looks over Pridemore from this castle, but his renovations appear to have stalled. You can also get little info blurbs like that out of them if you press the select button, but I completely forget to do that for every single knight after King Knight. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we're going to start off the main campaign properly by heading after our first 2 members of the Order of No Quarter. See you guys then.